that was really what kept me around, kept me attracted. It was... Hi, I'm Imi. This is my boyfriend Andy's channel. We've been together for almost 6 years now and we date women together as a couple. We're very big into exploring spirituality, self-development, sexuality and kink. And we record videos together on this channel too, sharing everything that we have learned so you can do it too. So I'm talking the thing that actually attracts women to you men out there. I think it can be such a confusing space where there's so many people saying that you should be doing this and shouldn't be doing that, and you need to be a James Bond or an alpha or a sigma male or all of that sort of stuff. But I think at its core, what attracts women to men is very, very simple. I think our sexuality is very, very simple. And that's coming from me, all of the friends that I've talked to, seeing Andy coaching clients for years in this space, vice versa, seeing what attracts men to women and women to men. We've seen a lot of it. And it's really not that complicated. So I want to actually start off with where I started when I first met Andy almost 6 years ago now, because I think that context is actually really important for why we've been together so long, why I was attracted to Andy in the first place when I met him, speaking from personal experience, and how Andy introduced me to some alternative ideas to the views that I had on dating meant that I felt more connected, closer to him, more attracted to him, and made me want to stick around, especially in the beginning. So when I started seeing Andy, it was meant to be a casual hookup that maybe lasted as a casual friends with benefits type arrangement. But clearly it's gone a lot longer than that and become a hell of a lot more serious. But at the start, I very much had this strong rule that it has to be strictly casual, couldn't be anything else. I was absolutely not allowed to catch feelings. And I was adamant, and this was the very naive yet overly confident 18-year-old girl at the time who had said, I'm never catching feelings. I don't do feeling. That's just not something that I'm going to do forever. I had somehow gotten it into my head that I was never going to get emotionally attached to anybody. I think some past experiences, broken family situation did influence that a little bit, clearly. And looking back, I can see those 18-year-old ideas as cute and adorable and naive, but also really fucking stupid. Obviously, at my core, I very much wanted feelings and wanted closeness. I was actually very affectionate once I got over all of my bullshit, but I was afraid of getting hurt, and so I wanted to close myself off. I very much had this sense that I couldn't be fully vulnerable. I even had a hell of a lot of nerves after about a month or so of seeing Andy, even just saying, I like you. Like, I like seeing you. I like you as a person. That wasn't a big declaration of love. I really felt like I couldn't admit to liking somebody, to actually having any amount of care for another person, especially somebody that I was being intimate with. I didn't want to mention to Andy that I had spoken to my friends about him, and I got a little bit of a pleasure knowing that he had spoken to his friends about me. It was very much this sense of I wanted to have the upper hand, that I wanted to be very nonchalant, being like, I don't care, which couldn't be further from the truth. But it was very much a combative mindset, the sense that I needed to be winning, that I needed to be in control, that somebody else needed to like me more than I liked them. I even had this mindset with my friends. Like, I was very reluctant to say, like, I miss you, or give somebody the sense that they had power over me through my attachment to them. It overall just meant that I was a little bit withholding. My connections with people weren't as deep, because I think subconsciously I was always playing this weird power game, trying to make sure that I didn't end up being the one that was getting hurt by somebody else. I didn't give somebody else that power. But then Andy came along and fucked all of that up. And initially what attracted me to Andy was that he was quite stoic and he was masculine. He was offering me a hell of a lot sexually. He very much felt like he had this dominant energy. He had his shit together, and that was really, really attractive. And I think that is great for when you're just seeing somebody casually. Obviously that's enough to have sexual chemistry between two people, but it was ultimately not what kept me sticking around longer term and through the more difficult times, because that sexual energy, that attraction, that lust at the beginning, that infatuation, it has a shelf life. It can only last so long. That surface level masculinity was what attracted me to Andy in the beginning, but that is ultimately not what I believe attracts women and keeps women around in the long term. So obviously Andy had this masculinity, but what kept me wanting to see him more than anybody else that I was seeing at the time was that he was also able to connect with me emotionally. And initially that presented itself in little ways. When I'd first met him, that was just like having a good conversation after sex, taking the time to walk me to the train station when I said goodbye, talking to me a little bit about my life and giving me some guidance there. And at the beginning, it was just very small ways of showing me a little bit of love, a bit of kindness, a bit of connection. And after a few months, and then when it evolved into a few years, it was a very deep level of intimacy and communication and understanding. And that was really what kept me around, kept me attracted. It was the emotional connection above all else. Andy was a massive catalyst in teaching me how to be honest and vulnerable. And it was terrifying at the start. I remember, as I was saying before, I didn't want to say, I like you. We sat in bed together for about 30 minutes while I worked up the courage to simply say, I like you. And he was very patient and he just sat there with me and we talked through all of the things like, what bad thing happens if I say this? What happens if I say it first? He very much encouraged me to open up, to be more vulnerable. And then he also gave me a hell of a lot of praise when I did. There was a lot of encouragement saying that I was very brave. It made him feel more attracted to me. Again, lots and lots and lots of praise in the opening up. And when I was able to actually share that vulnerability with someone, it made me 10 times more attracted to Andy. It was this beautiful combination of the masculine and the feminine, the ability to take the lead, to be dominant, but also be emotional, to be there for me when I wasn't feeling good, when I was having doubts, and introducing me to all of that. Andy very much pushed the idea of you and me on the same team. Not viewing one another as the enemy like I previously had, not needing to be combative or have control or power over the other person. Simply saying that we're two people that want to come together and work together to create something beautiful together. And a big part of that was being very honest, being very vulnerable when you're having these thoughts, or I wonder what they're thinking, or I don't know where this is going, or thoughts that maybe you'd typically take to a friend and say, what does this mean when they actually say this? What are they thinking? What do they want to do? You're treating them like the enemy, like you can't just speak to them and have a conversation. So getting over that hurdle was a massive, massive thing for us. And I think one of the primary reasons why we are together and have created and built such a beautiful relationship over the years. So that was the secret. It's being masculine and being emotionally available, open and vulnerable. And I know that maybe I might have been a little bit inflammatory, hopefully to get you to this point in the video. And at the end of the day, there is no one solution to attract all women. Everybody's going to have their differences and be slightly nuanced. I'm giving this advice based on my personal experience and many of my female friends who have dated and sought out relationships and speaking to them about what they're looking for in men. But I think at our core, and I'm making a generalization here, but women are attracted to masculine men. But at the same time, I think our biology, whether we actually want to or not, also seeks out men that can be good fathers, that can parent children, that can be stable men. And I think men that are emotionally in touch provide that. Being emotionally available doesn't necessarily mean being emotional. That doesn't mean crying or having a breakdown or voicing insecurities and being like, you must hate me, oh my God, I feel terrible. It's not that. All of those things, when I say being emotionally available, being in touch with your emotions, that can still come from a masculine place, from having your shit together, but still just being able to communicate, be honest, being genuine about what you're going through, how you're feeling, if there's something that you want to work through together. And yeah, there's going to be exceptions to this. There's always going to be people out there that want to play games, that enjoy that push and the pull and the drama. And I guess some part of my mind is like, I can't actually fathom anybody that genuinely wants that enjoys the act of playing games and not having somebody that communicates to them. But again, there's exceptions to every rule. And ultimately, the only thing I would say on that is that if you are somebody that shares my philosophies, Andy's philosophies, that I want relationships to be easy and have less drama and feel peaceful and loving and happy, rather than the excitement and the high ups and downs and something extreme is happening, both good and bad. If that doesn't appeal to you, as it doesn't appeal to us, I think you'd naturally want to screen out the women who are looking for that. And by being honest, being vulnerable, being upfront, you may screen out the occasional women, but they're, again, the women that you wouldn't necessarily want in your life. And as I mentioned, this wasn't easy for me at the start. This was very much something that Andy introduced to me and slowly helped and guided me through. But it's been, as I said, fundamental in our relationship and life-changing in the relationships that I keep with other people and how I actually interact with other people. I give more, and as a result, I receive more. I have deeper connections with other people where there's never any drama, there's never any real problems. It only brings me good things. If that does sound like something that appeals to you, especially if you are someone who's felt like you have to play games or be the stoic alpha male that never shows his feelings or always have this mask up, I know that learning to be open and vulnerable and genuine and just being real with other women, friends, colleagues, families, even their kids, for our clients, this has been life-changing. And as someone that's been through it, I know that it can be terrifying and scary, and trust me, it helps so much to have someone help and guide you through it. Or even times when you want to revert back to that and ask the questions like, what are they thinking? What should I do? Just having someone to remind you, hey, how about you have that conversation with the person that you're talking about rather than talking about them, talk with them. And that's a massive thing that Andy and the coaching program and all of the amazing coaches that we have can help you with. It's a great community of people that will always have your back, support you in any goals that you want. And especially when you're having doubts or worries, can help and guide you through that process. So links to coaching and all of that will be in the description below. Would love to hear if you've had any experiences where you have decided to be honest or vulnerable, whether that's with a woman or somebody else, and that has gone well. And again, if I hadn't made it clear, I really do believe that vulnerability and honesty and openness is a life-changing thing. It can bring you so much peace. Again, I think it's part of why our relationship has had that longevity, because in all of the difficult times, we've just been able to talk to one another and be real. And so problems that might have escalated if we didn't speak about it get addressed early on. And even for big conversations, big disagreements, things that Andy and I might be incompatible on, we can still have that honest, candid conversation. So I'm all for it. I'd really advocate you giving it a go. But if not, that's beautiful too. And all that being said, I hope you go out there and crush those goals.